So maybe the wet weather can help them bounce back. Hume, on the other hand, well, after 2 losses in the back-to-back weeks, they bounced back in a big way in round 6 with a 5-1 win over Dandenong City. My name is Joey Lynch, and welcome to another round of NPL Victoria action. We'll take you through the starting lineups briefly. For the home side, for Port Melbourne, starting is number 1, Matt Symes, number 2, Amadou Karoma, number 6, Alan Mulcahy, number 8, Maker, number 10, Daniel Clark, number 11, Ko de Godoy, number 12, Valentin Chesnik, number 14, Kamal Ibrahim, number 18, Fim Beekhurst, and number 22, Yusa Konagaya. For the visitors, starting in goal, number 1, Michael Weir, number 4, Paul Wilson, number 5, Daniel Dixon, number 6, Harry Monaghan, number 8, James Brown, number 9, Bradley Blumenthal, number 10, Stephen Hewitt, number 13, Matt Lazaridis, number 14, Mitch Cooper, number 18, Benjamin Bowler, and number 25, Will Heldon. And as I said, my name is Joey Lynch, and joining me on co-coms tonight, it's his co-commentary debut, and he's probably not going to enjoy it given the way that the heavens have opened up, but I am joined by chief football writer for The Age newspaper, Michael Lynch. And Michael, not the best conditions to make your debut in.
No, can I go home, please? No, I mean, it's a winter game, although we're still here really in the late autumn, but the heavens have just opened just as we arrived and the game's just kicked off. So I imagine there'll be the ground will be pretty dry given the weather conditions up to now. So with a downpour, you'd expect some skiddy, greasy action off the turf. So normally, I remember when I was coaching kids, we used to say in wet conditions like this, shoot on sight. I'm not sure these boys will, but you never know.
Well, given that they put a number of goals past Dandy City last week, maybe Hume are in a goal-scoring mood, a shoot-on-sight mood as they boot the ball forward into possession, but it'll be a throw-in to the home side. Well, coming into this game, Hume sit 4th on the NPL Victoria table, but they could go as high as 3rd with a win and a Bentley loss. But on the other hand, they could fall as far as 7th if they lose and other results don't go their way. Port Melbourne, on the other hand, well, they're 13th coming in, 2nd from bottom, with only the 1 win and the 1 draw to their names so far on the season. They work the ball back to Weir, and Weir will boot the ball out. And the wind has already destroyed one. The wind and the rain has already destroyed one set of my notes, so good luck, everybody. Knocking the ball around, Port Melbourne coming up in the tank. Work the ball back to Weir, who has all the time in the world now under a bit of pressure to boot the ball clear. And, well, Michael, Hume, a number of names that will be familiar to a lot of the viewers. James Brown and Mitch Cooper, 2 boys that have had A-League careers and are now back here playing in NPL Victoria. Do you have any memories of the 2 players from back when they were in the A-League?
Oh, absolutely, particularly James Brown, the man with the funkiest name in football. I remember him at Melbourne City. I think he scored a couple of, well, when they were Melbourne Heart, didn't he score the winner one night up in Sydney for them when Hart won up there a few seasons ago? A player who had an enormous amount of potential. Played, I think, for Australia at under 23, Ollie Roo type levels. Just like a lot of players, I guess, things don't always work out the way you anticipate. Sometimes it's
Ball breaks through.
bad injury, sometimes it's just bad luck, but it's good to see him still playing at least. And you know, this is the level that is one below the A-League. If we ever do get a second division, it'll be from this level of clubs that the teams come, and obviously players like him with A-League experience will probably be in the mix for roles at those clubs.
As we see here in these early stages, a lot of work being forced to done by the Hume defence as Port Melbourne move forward in attack. And for those of you keeping along at home, the rain has destroyed my backup set of notes, so I am down to looking at the team sheets on my phone. So that should be a foul. The referee has blown for it. Foul given away by Daniel Clark of Port Melbourne. And Hume will have their first chance to really drive forward. Taken quickly by Will Hendon. Worked around the back line now, to the left. Hume bustling along on that left, trying to get something going, but no doing in these wet conditions. Hume, of course, in their white away kits, kicking from left to right, and Port Melbourne in their blue and red, kicking from right to left. Throwing to Port Melbourne here on the left. Booted forward, attempted to clear, but it will come right back in off the head of Eager. Former South Melbourne captain, now wearing the armband for Port Melbourne. Coming out there, but Port Melbourne defender Maker just quite happy to let it go back to Symes in the Port Melbourne goal. Maker. Plenty of time to try to tee something up, and he'll just go long down the right, but it's cut off by the Hume defence. Now they will go long. We're not going to see a lot of tiki-taka football in these conditions, are we?
You wouldn't think so, no. I mean, you know, as I said at the outset, skiddy ball, greasy night, a lot of, well, there will be a build-up of surface water if this carries on like this. And, you know, you normally get rewarded by going quite direct in these kind of conditions. So we'll just see. It's a free kick here now to Hume in a dangerous position, just outside the edge of the box. A few players queuing up to tee it up.
Maybe a chance to try out that shoot on sight motto that you raised earlier in the broadcast. Symes directing traffic behind his wall. Looks like Dixon is one of the players standing over it. Referees making them stand there in the cold and the winds, which I'm sure they don't appreciate. But shot comes in right off the wall. But it will nonetheless be a corner for Hume, so a chance for them to string a series of early attacks together. As that wind continues to drive the rain directly into our faces here in the setup here behind the two benches. But now it will nonetheless be a corner to Hume to swing something in. To the near post, flicked on. Shot comes in, but it's blocked. Chance for a rebound. But it looks as though it's come off a hand, perhaps, and it will be a free kick to Port Melbourne, and Symes will be able to clear the danger. as the rain. Perhaps it's not quite as fierce as it was before, but still a lot of wind here in Port Melbourne as the Sharks will look to break forward through the Signs free kick. It's a long heading contest, but it falls.
And here's a dangerous attack from Port on the counter, cleared for a corner, and neither side has really been able to assert themselves on this game at this point. Sort of, you know, a lot of patchy play, a lot of bitty sort of action, but I guess they're just all trying to come to terms with the conditions. More than the rain, perhaps, the swirling wind is going to make life difficult for players here because, you know, there's nothing worse than when you hit a pass not knowing if the wind's going to take it away. But that's another corner for Port, the first one headed out.
It's now another corner for Port Melbourne as I desperately try to get the rain out of my glasses so I can actually see who's who. Another corner comes in, headed clear by the Hume defence, but it will fall. Shot comes in. Well dug out there by Weir. Massive bodies in the way there, and it was dipping. Another chance. And it will be a penalty to the host. It's come off her hands there. Shot has come in and it's deflected off a hand, and I can't see who it was because my glasses are covered in rain, but nonetheless, it will be a penalty to the Sharks. Early chance to seize an early lead, and for a side that has not started off this season too promisingly, haven't won many games, only one in their last 5, 4 defeats, chance to go up early over the 4th place side in the league. Looks to be Ibrahim standing over the ball, and it will be Ibrahim, it appears, that will take the penalty for the Sharks. Former A-League player, former gold medal winner here in NPL Victoria. Only has Weir to beat. Saved by Weir on the follow-up, and the follow-up is bundled in by the Sharks. Weir did fantastically, guess where he went right, but the follow-up from Daniel Clark and Port Melbourne have their early lead, and well, just isn't it a deserved lead for the Sharks early?
Well, they just had a couple of decent shots, actually. The keeper did have to dig one out low with a very good long shot through a mass of bodies earlier. Then 2 corners into quick succession before that penalty. So I guess they've threatened a bit more in that sense than Hume. Hume probably had more possession than them, but, you know, possession really, it may be not 9/10 of the law, but it's what you do with it that counts. And Port have certainly taken that opportunity. Showed once again the importance, though, of being alert from penalties, being first to the rebound, and you know, keeper did it ever so well. He got guessed right, and he punched it out quite a long way and at quite an acute angle. So the lad following up, was it Clark? Yeah, he did have to. He had a fair bit to do, I think, to finish from where we were looking at, but he put it away with aplomb. So 1-0, and it's just the boost the home fans huddled under the social club roof will probably need.
As now the Sharks go again. Ball was driven in by De Godoy, but cleared by Hume, and now they will have a free kick. And they can maybe try to build up. They might be a bit shell-shocked early coming in. Probably would have expected this to be maybe not as hard as other NPL contests early in the season based on the form of the Sharks, but nonetheless now they find themselves down a goal to nil. The ball is cut out.
And Port, for all their lack of results, they're quite good defensively. I think they'd only conceded 8 in their, for all the fact they'd hardly won a game. I think they only conceded 8 in their 6 games so far, which, okay, it's worse than a goal a game, but it does say that they haven't taken any real hidings and they can be quite tight. So, the job is there for Hume now to go on with this and get back into it.
They will now get a throw in from the left. Harry Monaghan forces it across there to the left. Chance to go in again, but it's cut out by the Sharks, and now they can break. Switches on if they can get it. Dogore keeps it in. Evades the challenge. I think that was Cooper. It's turnover in the middle, and now Sharks will retain though. Of course. Switching the play. Forced to go along with it. Eager there. Just calm and collected. Plays her back to Symes in goal. As the rain does thankfully appear to have passed us by. It's unfortunately destroyed my notes, so as I said, I'm down on my phone, but can at least see without the glasses getting fogged up now as ball is moved to the right wing. Brown. Cut out. Breaking down the left with Hume. Tucking, weaving, getting back inside. Overlap works. Well, it did work until cut out once again by the Port Melbourne defence. You're knocking the ball around the defence. There's Will Hendon. He's in bags of space here on the right that wants the ball. He's pleading with both hands up. He's not going to get it, and instead, Hume will come up. Floated into the middle, in the direction of Blumenthal. So it's cut out by Port. Back to Eager, and he will just boot the ball forward in the direction of Ibrahim and Konagaya and the Port Melbourne strike force. Hendon. Cut out by De Godoy. Wilson plays it across. Just under pressure. They've turned it over. Ibrahim's through. One-on-one with the goalkeeper. He's gone round him. Oh, but fantastic defending from the Hume defence. You could probably hear Coach Adam Pettick there from the Port Melbourne bench pleading with his man to shoot, but couldn't pull the trigger, and get out of jail, do Hume, but maybe you agree with the coach, he should have shot?
Well, he did everything right, actually, Ibrahim. He picked up that loose ball from an intercept, and he beat the keeper, and he probably should have pulled the trigger a bit earlier, because just that delay allowed the defender to get back and make a goal-saving challenge. So, you know, got to give credit, though, to the defender, haven't you?
There as Eager cuts out an attack there, miscommunication between Blumenthal and Brown, the killer bees. We'll go back to Symes and now to Eager. The Godoy in space on the left. Instead he's forced to play it back to Symes, who instead will look to feed the Godoy himself, but can only instead find touch. Cleared long by Weir. Only as far as Port Melbourne, and now Hume will look to maybe build again. Once again, down to Hendon on the right, but it's cut out by the Godoy. Dixon cleans it up, but now he's under pressure. Fierce pressing from Port Melbourne early. Port can throw it in there. Beakhurst is waiting in the middle, and he's got men arriving. But another corner for Port Melbourne, and really Hume just can't get anything going. No fluidity in their attack.
No, they do show a surprising lack of cohesion at this point, and Port obviously with their tails up after taking an early lead. It's not something they've experienced a lot in games, is it, this season, given their win-loss record? And they're playing with a fair bit of confidence, snapping at the heels, pressing in forward areas and winning a lot of those 50-50s and causing turnovers. So signs good for the hosts here.
Let's get another corner as men scream into the box. Pack forms in the middle. Well, Weir dropped it initially, but he had enough wherewithal to collect as he falls over as he throw it out. But now there is room on the right for Brown to break. But he's pursued by Maker, but he struck him off. Puts the ball in the middle. Just headed clear by the Port Melbourne defence. And it's going to be kept in. Eager once again forced to just put his boot through it there and clear the danger. Now it just ball goes long again. Just neither side just really able to get the ball on the ground and play the way through the opposition, mostly in these early stages. Just forced to go long. Like the switch is on here if Port Melbourne can work it. Symes will attempt to do. Working the ball to Clark. Ball in between De Godoy and Eager. De Godoy keeps it in, but he's put his captain under pressure from Blumenthal, who wins the ball. Can he get it in? But Eager is quick to recover, and Eager, a veteran presence here in the Port Melbourne defence, and those veteran instincts really come into the fore there, weren't they?
Yeah, eager by name, eager by nature, as he, sold into trouble a bit by his teammate, who in turn actually had to work harder than he should have to keep the ball in because the pass across was a bit slack. But, Hume now with a chance for a long throw.
And that long throw does come in, flicked onwards, but nobody waiting there. But it is cut out by Hewitt. They will work the ball once again to Blumenthal on the right. Port Melbourne just content to watch the ball roll over the goal line for a goal kick. Symes just putting the ball on the spot. Get the feeling he'll probably go long again here. Everybody's moved forward, so nothing short. Ball indeed goes along to a contest. Oh, and brought down there in the middle. It's going to be a free kick. Possibly no yellow card, but he stayed down there. And he's still...
Not working.
There's been some discomfort here, the Port Melbourne man. Now the trainer is finally welcomed onto the field. And is Clark. He'll be forced to head off the field, given that the trainer was summoned. Eager will look to put something in long, but ball is overhit and we will collect comfortably. Danger there. Konagaya dances his way. Ibrahim moves the ball onwards. There's a chance to shoot. Dancing in, no chance. 2-0. Poor turnover in defence from Hume, and Port Melbourne make them pay for another one. And just good signs for the Sharks. Once again, they're just capitalising on the errors from the Hume defence.
Well, yeah, 2-0. This is nosebleed territory for Port Melbourne, I think, this season, isn't it? You know, they've certainly got their foot on the throats of Hume at this stage of the game. It's still early, but, you know, you wouldn't think that Hume have really looked like creating anything, and now Port double their advantage, and they'll look to get another, I think, before half-time and put this game to bed.
Of course, in these difficult conditions, as the wind and the rain begin to come down again from the looks of things, 3-0 half-time lead would be incredibly deflating for the visitors to try to come back, as Brown looked to get forward, was cut out by Eager, and now Hume looked to move forward, but it's just intercepted by the Port defence once again. They're keeping up very tight early. Long ball over the top. Chested down. Back to Blumenthal. He'll just shoot from range, and it was bouncing awkwardly for Symes, but he's able to get down and dig the ball out and collect and hold strong as he'll work the ball to Eager. The Goodoi. Was looking for men forward. He was looking for Konagaya, but he couldn't pick him out. And instead, Hume can now move forward. Good defence by Eagle once again as the attack is cut out. Well, might as well talk about it now. You mentioned earlier the sides, the second division, which will draw NPL sides, according to this white paper reported by Ray Gatt of The Australian. Just have you had a chance to look over the specifics of that story? What was your thoughts on the proposed structure, if this his story is to be believed, of course?
Well, it's been reported by pretty much everyone today, actually, because a couple of leaked copies of the white paper have done the rounds. Look, you know, it's an indicative document. It's not prescriptive. It's a document that is throwing up some ideas for debate and discussion to provide a kind of signpost to what a route map on the way going forward will be. I mean, they do talk about creating clubs or having teams in areas that are as yet unrepresented in the national footprint, because that is one of the unique things that football has that other codes in this country don't have, really, is clubs in regional areas and also clubs in parts of and cities and towns that aren't going to get a national team in other codes of sport. So look, there's a lot to be excited about. We have to wait and see. Costings need to be really explained, what sort of budgets these clubs are going to operate on. We've seen, I think, the AAFC, which is the group that represents the second-tier clubs, has talked about budgets of around 2.5 million. The PFA has asked for budgets of considerably higher, but PFA, of course, is kicking up for its members. First and foremost, the PFA is actually a trade union and therefore is trying to get the best wages and conditions for its members. So you would expect it to come up on the high side. But, more detail will be forthcoming after this initial white paper. We've also got the new league's working group due to report on Sunday. Again, another indicative pathway, a sort of report that is a report about a report, if you like. It will give us a flavour of what the Independence A-League may look like. So, very important weekend actually in the sort of future direction of the game in this country.
Interesting scenes to be interesting times ahead, to be sure, as Hume looked to break forward, but Maker is able to cut it out, and Port will look to break forward to Konagaya, to Ibrahim. And, well, you talk about a lot of the things that was in that white paper. One of the big things that does jump out is that they do mention promotion and relegation from this second division to the lower tiers of Australian football, as Hume win a free kick here in attack. But there is no mention made of potential promotion to the A-League. Is that a possibility at some point in the next few years? Do you reckon? Or is it going to be something that is worked towards, or other powers that be maybe perhaps going to make us wait until 2034?
Well, look, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. What I do know is that it should happen, and it has to happen eventually, because what's the point? Otherwise, there is a big argument over the contractual position with the A-League clubs, who'll point to the small print of an agreement that Frank Lowy back in 2014 gave them, which guaranteed them a place at the top table till 2034. But there's still plenty of discussion and debate to be had around that. I don't think we'll see promotion to the A-League in the first few years.
Hume swing the ball in, but it's just touched over the bar that Symes is content to just watch it go over, and it will be a goal kick.
Yeah, as I was saying, I don't think we'll see promotion from the second division for the first few years, relegation from the A-League in the early years, because I think the second division does have to consolidate, does have to prove its financial bona fides, and it does have to prove that it is a league from which, if you do get relegated from the top tier into it, it doesn't mean the end of your club. And I think that's something that psychologically people in the game here have to get around, that there are kind of corporate structures that could be established by which the second division is part of the same company as the top division, and that the two can help grow revenue streams and help grow the business for each other. And it doesn't have to be a disaster if you get relegated, because you can get promoted straight up. These are difficult concepts for some people in the game in this country to seemingly take a hold of. I don't anticipate it happening in the short term, but I think long term, even if it does have to wait till 2034, it does have to happen.
Interesting thoughts indeed, and we all wait eagerly with anticipation the official release of those documents, so those of us without those sneaky contacts to leak it to them can have a look at it. Or if you are a sneaky contact that would like to send it to me, go ahead. As Hume will now look to work it forward once again in a half where they would probably be disappointed coming in. It's just once again, it breaks down if they try to get something going, but just can't. Port Melbourne have done an excellent job. They've laid a few offside traps here as of late, and they're really frustrating this visiting Hume side as the Goodoy will get the ball in, looking for Beakhurst. It's just kicked out, but once again, just Port Melbourne just grab a few more yards, trench warfare style, just move it up and dig down again as they'll throw the ball in long. Ibrahim. And the Goodoy will give away the free kick, and now Hume can maybe look to get forward. And well, the rain has stopped, but it's still windy and it's still cold. Is that maybe a silver lining for Hume, that maybe the conditions are brightening up and they can maybe just collect themselves at half time, you'd think?
Oh yeah, look, if the wind drops, you know, it does allow a team to be able to play the ball on the ground a bit more and use any technical advantages they've got. But you know, at this point they've been outplayed, really, haven't they?
They genuinely have. The Sharks, you wouldn't know they were second bottom of the NPL table coming into this game. They've really kicked in strong. Now some good pressure. Forces the turnover, and Hume now can break, but once again the offside trap catches Hume City out. It was some great work in the initial stages by Hewitt to force the turnover, but just once again it breaks down, and you can see Port Melbourne players there congregating in the defence. It's obviously something that they've worked on, and it's coming to the fray. To the fore of the fray, as it were. And well, this is of course an NPL Victoria broadcast, so we do have a Victorian skew on things, but we're talking about sides that will make up the second division in the future, if it does come about in the next couple of years. Who are some NPL sides you would think in Victoria that have that capability of making the jump in the next year or two to a second division?
Well, I think it's not just going to be about playing records, is it? I think the criteria are going to be quite wide-ranging, as they should be, you know, because you're going to have a proper ground, you're going to have proper financial backing and be properly capitalised, you know. So I'm a bit reluctant to even speculate particular and name certain names, because I haven't looked at the balance sheets, I haven't seen the financials of these clubs. How many actually want to be in the second division? Some may not want to be, you know, and there may well be new consortia from different parts of the country. I think this white paper has identified the possibility for clubs from different parts of the country to come in, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. What would be interesting is if Team 11 put their hands up for it. I know a lot of people were very surprised when they didn't get the licence. Here's a corner though from Port, coming across and well fielded by the keeper there.
Fielded well by Weir, and that was one thing that I did want to get your opinion on, because we have got a situation where maybe in NPL Victoria we've got a team maybe like Bentley Greens that have been there, done that. They've pretty much won everything, but playing out there at Kingston Heath, you compare them with maybe a side like Melbourne Knights that can't quite compete on the field with the Greens in the past few years as the ball is moved forward, but Symes is bravely off his line to boot the ball clear and the heavens open up again. But yeah, the Knights, they maybe on the field haven't been able to match the Greens in recent years, but they've got the stadium, they've got the history, they've probably got the sponsors behind them. How do you make the decision between a side that on sporting merits probably deserves it versus a side like the Knights who logistically could pull it off?
I think in the end it will be the logistics that will determine it, you know, because at the end of the day you're creating a second division. If your ultimate aim is to have promotion and relegation and a tiered structure, as I said, you have to create a second tier which is a viable entity on its own and dovetails with the top division, so that if a team does get relegated, it doesn't mean commercial suicide for the team that gets relegated. So in the end, I think you're probably going to have to look, in an ideal world, you know, for a team that's got the infrastructure and the finance, but it's also got sporting credibility. But probably in the end, the infrastructure and the finance will determine it, because let's face it, if you've got your own ground and you've got lots of money and your team's not very good, but you get a spot in the second division, you will get good players who will want to come and join you, so your team will get better.
Hume wanted a penalty there for a handball breaking through, but they're not going to get one. As Clark and Dugudoy combine, is just a fierce blast of winds ripped through and just picked that ball out of the air. Port Melbourne can maybe break through now. It's been a interesting first half for both in terms of football and just trying to survive it up here in the scaffolding, but you couldn't call it the prettiest half of football, could you?
Absolutely not. It's certainly not the Mona Lisa of games, is it? But I think Port will certainly go in with their tails up and feeling very happy with their 45 minutes here. As we've said, you know, a couple of times struggling near the foot of the table against a team that was lying third, were they, Hume, when this game kicked off? So, you know, it's a very good position for them to be in. They probably feel, given where they are in the league, they need a third just to be confident. But, you know, we'll see now with Hume on the break. They'll be desperate to get something back before half-time just to keep this game back in the balance.
Yes, as we tick over to just 5 minutes remaining here in the first half. Hume will have a chance to swing the ball in from the left. And they're getting numbers forward. Weir's about 3/4 of the way up in his half, and they've left one man on the back line, so they probably are aware that they could definitely use a goal to just at least cut the deficit early in this second half. As Wilson, the big central defenders, come up at the back post. Swung into the near post, but nothing to it, but have a chance to recollect here and go again. Swung back in, but just long shot in from, I think it was Brown in the end there, but well saved by Symes down to his left. He'll just put the ball on the ground and we'll probably, imagine, get another long ball, which we do. Off the head of Beakhurst, and it keeps going forward. Well defended by Hume, now they have a chance to move forward. But just the long ball is once again cut out, and just it's really been just a theme of Hume's game. They can't string these passes in the middle of the park together. They're often relying on quick breaks or just long balls to try to get something going. It's once again the ball goes long and he's just cut out by the Port Melbourne defence as Eager boots the ball away. Another chance to move forward, and once again the ball is played over the top, and Eager will just marshal the ball out for a throw-in. Well up the field, as it were. Now, and so, Michael, if you were the coach of Hume at half-time, put yourself in Hegarty's shoes, what adjustments are you making to try to get your side back in this?
I'm going to tell them to sharpen up, really. They're getting beaten to all the loose balls, and just try and sort of play the ball on the ground a little bit more. They're much higher up the table than Port Melbourne for a reason, one would assume. And I would say, you know, you got a better record this season. You're better players. You've proven yourself so far this year to be a better team. Just go out and show it.
And I guess the inverse of that question is, put yourself in Piddick's shoes here, the Port Melbourne gaffer. How do you protect this lead?
Oh, I'd say more of the same. You know, they're doing everything right. It's a dirty evening in terms of the weather, swirling wind and rain, and they're snapping in with the tackles. They're pressing hard, they're working hard, running hard, and they're first to a lot of the loose balls. They're playing with a lot of desperation, and it's paid dividends for them so far. And I'd just be saying, keep on keeping on.
As it looks like we're about to get the board coming up with the added minutes, and mercifully I can duck into my car and find a jacket that isn't soaked. It's really just descended, you'd say, into just mainly a game of tennis or ping pong in these final minutes, just both sides exchanging long balls forward, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a bit like hoof, kick and rush, isn't it, but sometimes that can prove effective, even if it's not very easy on the eye. But as far as Hume are concerned, it's not even proving effective at the moment.
Maybe a bit of proper football, a bit of kick and rush. Just we need these sides to start playing 4-4-2 and stick the big lad up front, and it will be classic football.
And mercifully, we only have 1 minute of stoppage time.
Maybe the referees want to get inside and get a dry top on as well. So 1 minute of extra time. It's been half that, if you're Port Melbourne, you'd probably have to say you're very happy with. I talked about how the wet weather, maybe the Sharks could take advantage of it, the aquatic animals that they are, and they certainly have come out. They came out firing, getting ahead too.
Their work rate's been good. They say Sharks are constantly moving, and that's what they're doing in this game, aren't they?
I think we're really taking this shark metaphor and running with it, or at least attempting to, as the ball comes forward. And Eager probably could have fouled James there, but the referee didn't agree, James Brown, as the referee calls for half-time. So at the end of the first 45, on a wet, cold and miserable evening here at J.L. Murphy Reserve, Hume really have just been flat coming out. They find themselves down 2-0 to the host Sharks, and it will take some doing for them to dig themselves out of this one. I'm Joey Lynch, joined by Michael Lynch, and be sure to stay tuned on the NPL Victoria Facebook and YouTube pages for what should be a good second half of football. We are back underway here at JL Murphy Reserve. I am Joey Lynch, joined by Michael Lynch as we get back underway here with the hosts, Port Melbourne, leading 2-0 after coming out and maybe taking advantage or maybe adjusting to the conditions, adjust that as you will, and taking an early lead over the visiting Hume City. And we're now back. And Michael, what were your thoughts on that first half now that they've passed us by?
Well, I'll tell you what, my thoughts at the start of the second half are thank God for the fact the wind's dropped and thank God that it stopped raining because it's actually reasonably pleasant now. But, all right, okay. My thoughts at the start of this half are thank God that the rain stopped and that the wind's dropped. Right, sorry. Bit of a technical glitch there. It wasn't me in an echo chamber or on repeat. Anyhow, look, Port have started quite well here, haven't they? They're sort of looking for a third, taking the game to Hume, and I think if they do get a third, it'll be good night nurse for the visitors.
Hume tried to get something going there down the right, but couldn't do so, and now Hume can maybe, hopefully, get something going as clash between Maker and Blumenthal down here by the goal line. Desperate defending, but nonetheless Hume will collect and now look to break out down the right. Streaming forward down the right here. There are good signs here for Hume if they can get the ball in. But no. Once again, we've got a turnover. And now, handbags at 20 paces, as it were. Tensions bubbling over. The late challenge did come in, and now both sides. Referees will try to get control, and here we go. Park football at its best.
Oh, God, I don't know how many decades it is since I've been watching either NPL or VPL football. I can't remember a game where we haven't had a punch on or a push and shove at some stage. It's remarkable. You could set your watch by it, really, couldn't you?
Maybe you should come to a few more games because we're all not that violent here down at the NPL. But there's nonetheless a bit of feeling involved in this one as the referee eventually takes control. He's having words with a few of the Hume players. Can't see if he's produced any. And there's the card for multiple players. Unfortunately on the far side of the ground, so I can't pick out their number to look at on my hastily written notes from where I ducked inside the car at half time to write them down. But now Port Melbourne can get something going, looking for that third goal. I guess, Michael, in that first half, it's pretty difficult to judge, but would you, looking at the quality of these players out there, we're talking about a second division, and you've probably seen a lot of A-League games played in similar conditions, so you can compare, but, what was your thoughts on just the ability out there, the skills on display in the first half?
It's very difficult, isn't it, because, the environment in which you're watching players can make a big difference. I mean, these two teams have between them got a lot of players who have actually played at A-League level. We mentioned James Brown earlier, but also Kamal Ibrahim, wasn't he at Melbourne Heart, and a fair few other names I've seen around on these team sheets were either in A-League squads or getting close to them when they were younger. Some players went overseas when they were younger and came back. So the problem is a night like tonight doesn't really provide much of a canvas for anyone in terms of conditions to really show their class. But, funny thing is we're looking at Port 2-0 up here. If Kamal Ibrahim had actually shown more sharper finishing instincts, they could have been 3-0 up, couldn't they, if he'd pulled the trigger earlier? And maybe that's the difference. You see it at this level compared to the top level. He didn't kind of make it at A-League level, and possibly an A-League class striker would have pulled the trigger and finished a lot quicker than him there. So, but look, you know, it's hard to judge because these are guys, they're training 2-3 nights a week. They're not full-time footballers. It's very unfair to just take a snapshot of them for me in an event like this, in conditions like this, and come to some kind of conclusive decision, because you're just not going to.
Well, Melbourne have a free kick here, which they'll eventually get in. They're getting defenders up, the Goodoy and Eager amongst the players walking into the box. As it also appears as though we'll have a double substitution swung by Hume to maybe try to get things back. Urson Kaya looks to be coming into the game. Kaya, of course, is equal second top scorer for Hume City, coming off the bench with a couple of bags of goals. James Brown is their leading scorer with 5. So they'll be looking for him to fire at some point in the second half, as it looks like we'll get Clark to swing the ball in for Port Melbourne, which he does so. Looks like he was looking for Rieger, but it's knocked out, and it will be a throw-in for Port Melbourne down there on the wing. So danger signs not cleared for Hume yet. Karoma comes up for Port, throws it in. Ibrahim under pressure from 2. Cooper getting back to help defend, and he'll help Hume dig it out, and they'll get the ball forward. Once again, though, stop me if you heard this before, Port Melbourne cut the ball out. It's Clark going to work in the middle, twisting and turning. Gets the ball out to Ibrahim on the right. Clashing down there, and Hume seek the sanctuary touch, but it's ball is played excellently through there. Maker trying to lay the defence on. Oh, and that was dangerous sign. So Hume, we could see there, get up on the left, maybe catch Port Melbourne napping or not getting back quickly enough, and go close to maybe opening their account there through Blumenthal. Yeah,
it was a better sign from Hume. They haven't really shown much, have they? And that was probably one of their better moments, isolating a player wide left. And, he outpaced, is it Maker, the big lad at the back. He wasn't quick enough to cut that attacker out. And corner kick now for Hume. So usually a good opportunity, set pieces, nights like tonight.
As we see Blumenthal and Bowler making way, placed by Urson and Tennant. So we'll see if the new blood can go to work in this second half and perhaps get something for Hume now, as the ball is swung in from the left. Ball could have potentially now working down the right. Hume won a handball. They wanted a penalty. They're not going to get it, but they're going to retain possession. And once again, they can reload and go again. Good period. Well, I was about to say it would have been a good period of possession for Hume, but kind of wasted there. Maybe the shoot-on-sight attitude that you talked about in the first half coming into play there, but unfortunately for Hume, ball has gone out, and now Symes will have the chance to propel Port Melbourne forward with a goal kick. And once again, looks like he'll be going long. Ball comes forward, it clears everybody and bounces forward, and Beakhurst was getting forward, but it's just not knocked out by the Hume, and Port Melbourne will now have a chance to recollect and go from a throw-in near the halfway line. Put in by Karoma. Chested down, and now back to Karoma. Tight spaces, but he's able to work the ball out to Clark. To Clark in the middle now, directing traffic. It's good build up from as the ball comes in. Free header, it's the third. There's the third goal. I think it's Beakhurst. No, it's Chesnick. My apologies, Chesnick. The winger sneaking in at the back post, unmarked, and the build-up was there. Clark just builds it up in the middle, puts it out in the left. The ball is swung in. Hume's marking is nowhere, and it's now 3-0 to the hosts.
Well, yeah, textbook header. I mean, really, he would have been buried if he'd missed it, wouldn't he? He was all on his own. Just got the right height, elevation, power and direction on it. And Hume, where were you? They're not at the races at all in this game, are they? You know, and this is a big chance for Port Melbourne. They can actually go on and give them a right hiding here and rescue their goal difference if they go on with it tonight.
As we mentioned coming into this game, Hume City were fourth coming in, could have gone as high as third with a win and other results, but on the other hand, now we mentioned they could fall as low as seventh with a loss, and with the goal difference taking a hammering, maybe one half of the way there as the ball is cleared out by Weir. But Port Melbourne defence, as they have done all night, just snuffing out that danger. Hume will just play the ball back to Dixon, who will look to switch the play, but instead, well, he's held out there by a terrible clearing header from Port Melbourne, and now Hume gifted a chance, arriving late, and there's one absolutely terrible defending from Port Melbourne. It just springs Hume forward, and they get the first one back through, well, who else but James Brown.
Yeah, James Brown, he's certainly the man on this occasion, and Hume, that goal really came out of nowhere for them. They haven't really looked like creating much, but ball through the middle and poor defending, and Brown was good enough to finish. So 3-1, and well, there you go, shot at the other end too. This is obviously the place where goals are tonight.
That is, I think, now Brown's 6th goal of the season, so as you said, the former Australian Youth International, the former A-League player, once again making his mark on Hume. He arrived at the club midway through last season from Nunawading City, of all places. Fahid Ben Khalfala's new hangout, Nunawading, as Hume can maybe go forward again, and you would, well, surely Port Melbourne, can they bottle it from here?
Oh, of course they can bottle it from here. I've seen teams lose from just as good positions as they were in, but you'd have to think that they just need now to put their foot on the ball, don't panic, and just do the things they were doing that had got them a 3-0 lead, and they should see this game through.
Of course, if you want to know about bottling it, who better to ask than a Spurs fan? As now Hume move forward and I get an evil look. Cooper in possession. Just switches the play. We haven't said Cooper's name much, but he's got the ball there on the edge of the penalty. Twisting and turning. Nothing comes from it. He's screaming at his teammates to try to give him some support, but now there's a chance for Port Melbourne to get forward on the other end. Ball comes to Ibrahim. Still Ibrahim. Shot comes in, but it's over the bar. And well, just they kept standing off Ibrahim. They gave him all day to figure out what he wanted to do. And eventually played it out to his left. So I think it was Konagaya, and just over the bar. And now, well, at the other end, all of a sudden, it's all happening down here at J.L. Murphy Reserve. As Karoma tried to put it out, but he wasn't able to find the touchline. And Monaghan is fouled in the end by Ibrahim. Taken quickly by Brown. Play switched across by Hewitt. knocking it about. Maker. Just under pressure now, the Port Melbourne defence. Hume has come alive. Ibrahim wanted him in front of him, but he's going to get on the ball regardless. And the ball is swung in. Header! But it's an easy collection in the end from Weir. And the big man will just be forced to go along with it. Weir, an interesting case study. He's another one of these players that made the leap from Queensland to Victoria. At one point, he was the understudy for, at Brisbane Strikers, he was the understudy for the famous goalkeeper, Michael Turnbull. More famous, perhaps, for his stint on The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, and Bachelor in Paradise, I think, as well. I don't know, I don't watch it, but I've been told he was on it. As now Hume break quickly. Well, and Ibrahim, unfortunately, receiving the pass from Karoma, was offside. And now Hume have a chance to break.
I couldn't tell you. I don't think I've watched Channel 7, 9 or 10 for about 15 years. Maybe I watched the racing on Channel 9 once or twice, but reality TV, forget it. They're the most unreal shows going, so not interested. Michael Turnbull, however, I do know. He was in the Olympic team squad, I think, wasn't he, in Sydney Olympics 2000. He was at Victory for a little while too, late in his career. Was a good goalkeeper and had a decent career, but perhaps not as embellished as as it was said to be at one point.
Well, thoughts on reality TV. That's why we get the big guns in. Michael Lynch giving his thoughts on reality TV. Get you riding for the green guard at some point.
Well, I have done. I've sort of done a lot of various. You're in the media for 39 years, like me. You do end up doing a lot of very different things along the way.
Ibrahim puts a deflected ball in, which is going to go out for a corner. So, chance here for maybe for Port Melbourne to put their feet back on the throats of Hume, as the referee's coming over and he's remonstrating with Weir here. I'm not sure what Weir's done. Maybe he said something. I mean, very angry scenes here from the Hume defence. Well, nonetheless, not exactly sure what was happening there, but chance now for, as I said, Port to put their pressure back on as well. They're going to faff about with it and make us wait. Clark will be putting the ball in instead of Ibrahim. Ibrahim, not the tallest bloke in the world, so I'm not sure he's going to be winning any headers as he heads to the penalty spot, awaiting the ball in from Clark. Ball's come into the near post and a pack has formed, and Weir's tried to collect, couldn't do it, and instead it will be another corner for the Sharks that Clark can swing in. This one is cut out at the near post, but Clark has a chance to collect again. Another one comes in, but Weir will rise strongly and collect. And now Hume moving forward in attack down the right. We have seen them hit there on the break now as they switch the play. Lazaridis, no. Weir, and now Hume can reload, but unfortunately for Hume, we've seen they have had some luck with the counter-attack, the goal coming on the counter-attack, because when Port have had the chance to set themselves in defence, that back four, Hume haven't had a lot of luck breaking them down, have they?
No, not really, but that was a good cross actually, and goalkeeper did very well to get on the end of it and punch it out. Game's not dead yet, you know. You can get a second goal. I think you'll see Port get an attack of the jitters.
Another cross comes in, and Symes tried to collect. He couldn't in the end, and Karoma is just forced to boot the ball clear. And as Michael said, just a chance now for Hume to maybe build back into this game. It's just Tennant directing traffic there in the back line. Back again with Tennant. Oh, just Karoma. Well, he's cut the ball out, so not a total disaster for his side, but he's given away a throw-in, which will be put in by Dixon. Just go back to Tennant, who will play the ball forward. Short passing, which was for the Hume all too absent in that first half. It's now they can go again.
I think actually the fact the rain stopped and the wind's dropped a bit has probably helped Hume, hasn't it? You know, they're able to get the ball down on the ground and try and play a bit more. They brought their number 7 on, Kaya, is it? The leading scorer from second leading scorer, who, you know, obviously will try and pep it up. Tennant's come on playing as a centre back. I think Dixon sort of moved a bit more to the left. So, you know, we'll just have to see. They really do need to get a goal, though, probably in the next 5 to 10 minutes to try and give themselves any hope of getting something out of this game.
Well, so if the rain and the wind dying down has helped Hume, it's certainly helped us. We can actually see now, and my notes haven't disintegrated in the rain, as now Hume going forward once again. Just a lot of pressure here on Port Melbourne. They had an excellent first half and then added a third, but definitely not a dead contest yet. Another ball comes in, but Port Melbourne just faffing about with it, almost sold Symes into trouble, and he's just forced to go long. But excellent defending from the front by Beakhurst, but nonetheless forward once again. Trying to play the ball through there, but just cut out by the Port defence. But under siege. And that is a bad foul, and you think that would probably be a booking there for Tennant, hacking down Chesnick. But he looks like he's going to get away with it for now, at least. You can hear the Port Melbourne bench. They want a yellow card.
Perhaps the referee's just given him the benefit of the doubt. He's only just been on 10 minutes, so maybe he thinks give him a talking to and warning next time.
Slipping and sliding around, it's a bit easier to lose your sense of acceleration, perhaps, or momentum when you're sliding along the wet turf. But
if he ends up on his backside, is he a sitting Tennant?
Boo. As Port Melbourne work the ball in there through Chesnick, as the NPL comedy hour has kicked into full gear here.
Oh, the only other Tennant I know is Neil Tennant. We need the Pet Shop Boys.
Well, there's David Tennant, Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, Scottish, isn't he?
Yes, he is Scottish. As once again, it seems that every time the ball is worked into this corner here, we start talking about television. But nonetheless, another chance for Port Melbourne to swing the ball in. Another pack forms, and that seems to be the consensus tactic for Port Melbourne in these situations, trying to build up a pack of players in front of Weir and get the ball into the near post, but it hasn't worked so far for the hosts.
Well, no, but the keeper did drop it, fumble it there, and once you create that uncertainty and the keeper's handling is uncertain, who knows, you know, what can happen.
Melbourne ball on their attacking left. Of course, both of these sides will be taking part in FFA Cup action soon, and Hume City, famous for, they were cup specialists last year, couldn't quite live up to those expectations of making the national playoffs. They did eliminate South Melbourne in their first hit out, but couldn't keep on after that. But were at one point semi-finalists in the FFA Cup, an FFA Cup campaign that you covered. One of the very first NPL sides to really make a name for themselves in the FFA Cup.
Yeah, I think we had consecutive years, didn't we? Bentley Greens made it to the semi-final in the first year, losing to Perth Glory, and then Hume played very, very well against Melbourne Victory. Transferred that semi-final to Amy Park. I think they should have played it up at Broadmeadows, actually, and really tried to make it home ground advantage against Victory at that one. But I think they only lost two goals very late in stoppage time. But Jai Ingham did enough playing for them to get a contract at Victory. So shows you what can be achieved through the FFA Cup.
Yeah, of course, their current coach, Nick Hedegaty, was a player coach last year. He is now, this year, just the head coach. He was pulling the strings in the midfield that day. Truly is a stalwart figure in the club. As now Humes go forward through Urson. Wall of Port Melbourne defenders in front of him, and he can't get the ball past them as Maker will clear it. Maker, of course, who has a famous brother, Thon, playing in the NBA. At least I'm not still sure if he's still in the NBA. Maybe some of our more basketball-loving fans in the comments can let us know if he still is there. As Hume now get forward through Tennant, but Symes is able to cut it out. So that was not Tennant, that was Lazaridis, the other substitute. My apologies. Four! It's four. That's Beakhurst. Just comes in. Just Hume, all that momentum. It's gone in a flash. Ball comes in, the marking disappears, and now it's four, and now you'd have to say the Sharks are home and host.
Well, you'd have to say that, wouldn't you? Surely they're not going to concede four in however much time we've got left. Is it about 20, 25 minutes to go? Very well finished there, actually. Ball crossed over from the left and sort of diving, kind of half-volleyed lunge, and put it where the keeper couldn't get it. 4-1 on the balance of play. They deserve to be winning. Whether they deserve a 3-goal margin, maybe not, but they definitely deserve the 3 points at this stage of the game.
As we also see Marcalis comes on for Hume in the wake of that goal, but well, it's for a while there it looked like Hume maybe they were going to get their way back into play. They get a goal back, they start stringing a few passes together, the weather's cleared up, they can play the ball along the grounds, maybe try to leverage their star talent in Mitch Cooper and James Brown a bit more, but unfortunately for them, now you'd have to say it's really gone by. And while James Brown did pop up with a goal, you'd have to say his other well-known counterpart up front there, Mitch Cooper's been unfortunately a bit quiet in this game for Hume.
Yeah, hasn't really done a lot, has he? You know, Hume haven't really done a lot. They got that goal sort of out of nothing, and then they had 10 good minutes or so. But you know, you'd have to think that goal may well knock the stuffing out of them. Any incipient comeback that they may have been thinking about, it's just become really difficult now.
As Brown did try to go to work there on the byline, but Maker does well to prevent any balls in. But it will now be a corner for Hume, and we'll see whether or not they adopt similar plans. There are quite a number of players swarming around Symes. A lot of numbers in the box. Ball comes into the near post, but no doing. And now, well, it was collected and shot, but it was a poor effort in the end as Ibrahim was fouled if he'd gone down, but he tried to stay up. Was held by Michaelis by the arm, but nonetheless, Hume will get away with it. And Ibrahim, we've mentioned his name quite a few times. He has had the missed penalty, but the former gold medal winner in Victoria, who I've been told was, when I walked in here and doing my notes, told he runs his own charity here based in Port Melbourne and the surrounding area, One Ball. It's a charity designed around providing coaching and services in football, just trying to get young at-risk immigrants, mainly Africans, involved in the community and try to get them some support. So they're on Facebook. I saw as One Ball. They only had 200 odd followers when I checked the page earlier this afternoon. So it'd be fantastic if we could get some support around that charity. It's a very worthy cause from Ibrahim. He himself an immigrant to Australia from Africa, from Ethiopia, I believe.
Well, yes, and increasingly we're seeing more and more African players, aren't we? In the A-League, certainly, but also in second-tier competitions like this. And, you know, football really does provide, it is the global language, it is the global game. And, you know, if you're an immigrant kid or just a stranger to a new town and you're half decent at football, you're always going to have a few mates, aren't you? And it's a great way for people to integrate, young players, young people to integrate into their community.
The ball fell to Michaelis there to have it shot after the crossing from Brown, but sliced the effort. And we all saw recently Awa Mabil, his successes with the Socceroos, and Tommy Deng making his debut as well. And Tommy Deng recently captaining Australia in 2 games for the Olyroos. Fantastic effort from Tommy. He's back now with his Melbourne Victory teammates, but it's really been one of the storylines of the past 6 months, one of the feel-good storylines surrounding Australian football, and Lord knows we need as many of those as we can get, has been the success of the likes of Symes dicks the ball out well there. That was dipping in front of him and men diving in front of him, but the success of players like Awa Mabil and Tommy Deng and even the likes of Elvis Kamsover and Kenny Achu below them in the A-League, these players coming through and football, just the football family.
Oh, yeah, it's been great. I mean, credit Melbourne Victory. They probably signed more African players than anyone, haven't they? You know, Elvis Kamsober in particular is a very exciting sort of talent. You know, I did a story about him a few weeks ago, and I think he said he never had a coach until he was about 13 or 14 when he was got into the junior system in Adelaide and after arriving as a refugee. And, you know, you kind of see that in the way he plays too. He's sort of got that kind of unstructured joie de vivre, if you can say, about the way he likes to take players on. And he does unpredictable things. And I think that's what really makes some of these players so exciting. You know, the fact that they did grow up in a hard school. Playing in refugee camps is not going to be easy. Living in refugee camps as a young kid isn't going to be easy. But if you're playing football all the time, you're not playing on billiard-style pitches, and you're not having all your spontaneity coached out of you in drills, are you? So by the time you do get to professional level, you know, you are going to have a few of those tricks that maybe others don't have.
Yes, Elvis Kamsober, of course, not to brag or anything, but I had that article about him when he was still playing with Avondale, so for the Daily Football Show, so I had it first, but was born in Burundi and recently turned down a call-up as another shot. That's it! Konagaya, the Japanese import, left foot, that's 5. All the time in the world to just tee it up and put it just sneak it inside the post there. Weir had no chance, and really now it's just a procession for the Sharks, isn't it? How many can they get before the full-time whistle goes?
That was an excellent finish there. Yeah, he sort of controlled it, weighed it up, finished with his left foot, beat the keeper, got all the angles right and beat him well. As I said, I think when they went 3-0 up, this is a big chance they've got to actually kick on with this and improve their goal difference, which I'm just trying to think, was it -4 coming into this game? So they'll be level now and they'll go up 3 points, so they won't be second bottom, I wouldn't think. And this is the sort of result that a team like Port Melbourne can really use as a platform to turn around their season, you'd think.
Port Melbourne coming into this game with only one victory. That was over Pascoe earlier in the season, but they were finalists last year. They were eliminated in the first round of the finals, of course, but were finalists. So, and it's still very early in the season. It's a 27-round season as Brown tries to get something going, but nothing doing. No, sorry. Dixon, not Brown. My apologies.
Sound like a firm of opticians, don't they? Dixons and Browns.
Very old-fashioned. But as we were talking about these likes of Elvis Campsover, of course, was playing with Avondale last year, played with the Knights before that, and played in NPL South Australia before coming out here. We've seen Kenny Achu make the jump from Heidelberg United. Matt Miller is doing some great things with South Melbourne, and Kane Shepherd got a contract with the Newcastle Jets, and we saw just very recently Valentino Uel as Symes has pulls out another save. He's had to make a number of those in the second half, but Valentino Uel has become the latest signing of Western United. So increasingly we're seeing A-League clubs reach down into the NPL ranks and pick out the pick of the bunch, aren't we?
Well, this is a theme, we're going to see more of this, aren't we, with, hopefully the A-League expanding ultimately to 16 teams, and then if we get a second tier, you're going to get more opportunity for more and more players to come through and play at a higher level, so it's about building up the depth, it's about building up the quality, and it's about building up the footballing infrastructure and career opportunities. Not just for players, but for coaches, assistant coaches, and the whole kind of, flora and fauna, if you like, of the football landscape, where referees will get more opportunities, lines people, club officials, young people in administration.
Commentators.
Commentators, media, I mean, these sorts of things. When the tide comes in, all the boats in the harbour rise, don't they?
As Lee comes on for the Godoy for Port Melbourne, so swinging one of their changes. But it really is the next frontier maybe in, of course, famously the Oakland Athletics rose to prominence employing Moneyball, finding these talented players that were overlooked by others, maybe because of their background or their age or the way they played, and making a team of winners. And with all these games being streamed around in NPL, not just NPL Victoria, but around the country, really a chance for clubs that are willing to do the homework to pick out the talent. And as you mentioned before, also in the coaching ranks, Johnny Anastasiadis making the jump up finally, some would say, to the A-League and in Queensland. Increasingly reports are looking like from your colleague at the Sydney Morning Herald, Vince Regari and Don Bossi reporting for the Hairdryer, that Robbie Fowler is the favourite, but you've got the likes of Warren Moon up there in NPL Queensland that could possibly make the jump. So really a potential gold mine in the NPL ranks if A-League clubs are brave enough to try to dig it.
Well, yeah, of course, I mean, for coaches, the easy option is to sign players who've at least proven they can perform at A-League level, but that does then lend itself to a lot of allegations of sameness and recycling and churning players. But coaches, live or die on results, so you can understand in a way why they are reluctant to take chances. But I think those that have taken chances, to a large extent, they have been rewarded, haven't they? And I think we will see more and more of it in the next few years, particularly with A-League expansion, when they need to find the players from somewhere. And I don't think we're going to have open slather on imports, are we? So if we keep the imports at 5 per club, and we got another 4 clubs, that means that's 20 imports. But in a 23-man squad, that means there's 18 other places, and 4 times 18. Well, what's that? 72 or something, So 72 chances for NPL players, probably.
Or potentially maybe young players in academies that are overlooked. Of course, recently the Ollie Roos and Graham Arnold, as well as talking about how, as Port Melbourne snuff out another Hume attack, Graham Arnold, as well as decrying the lack of investment and opportunities for the Ollie Roos to play, has also talked about the lack of game time that youngsters are getting. Of course, that might raise a few eyebrows, given Arnold's previous comments about the A-League not being a developmental league, but he's singing the right tune now, and we've seen the Olyroos will be heading to the Asian Championships, which the Joeys got out of their Asian Championships and will be in Brazil at the World Cup later this year. The young Socceroos, unfortunately, were eliminated by Saudi Arabia in the quarterfinals of their Asian Cup. Will not be at the World Cup, but all of those chances maybe for future second division sides and future A-League sides, young players coming through, which we've already seen with the likes of maybe Apostolos Stamatolopoulos and Dylan Piraeus and the like, and Seb Pasquale signing with Western United. As Hume will now get a chance, well, really playing for pride at this point, or maybe goal difference, but they will be able to swing another ball in as Port Melbourne prepare their final substitution. Scramble in the box, but clears everybody in the end. It's come out, and now Port Melbourne have a chance to break. They're getting numbers forward. Chesnick, he tried to play the ball across, but there was no one there. He gets another ball across. It's fallen, but headed clear by the Hume defence. And, well, on the counter-attack, we almost had a sixth.
Yeah, we did. He was very quick, wasn't he, Chesnick, on the break there, but, you know, scrambled away. You could say there'll still be more goals in this game.
Well, there could certainly be more goals in this game, because coming on for Port Melbourne now, as we can see on the bench, is a very interesting case. We've got Ford coming on for Port Melbourne. Now, this is a man who, and he's 20 years old, he's a young man who signed with Ipswich's academy when he was 15 years old, spent a number of years in the Ipswich system impressing, secured a scholarship contract at West Ham at a 17-year-old and scored a number of goals as he now comes on for Conagaya. Was scoring goals in the Premier League too, the youth league in England with West Ham United, which is a pretty famous academy. Has produced a number of very successful players, but now at 20 years old he finds himself out here in NPL Victoria playing with Port Melbourne. So could perhaps be a yarn in that for maybe yourself or myself, if we can find out just exactly why he's out here at such a young age.
Yeah, Ford, I don't really know an awful lot about him other than what you've just told me. Does seem like a very strange career trajectory, but we see this sometimes. You know, kids go to Europe, look really good, 15, 16, 17, and for one reason or another, injury, wrong attitude, or just sheer bad luck, don't sort of kick on with it and come back and reload.
He's English.
Oh, is he English? Oh, well, there you are. I told you I didn't know anything about him. Is he actually English? Oh, well, it's what's he doing here then? Is he on holiday?
I don't know. He's born in Ipswich, so he's a tractor boy at heart.
Oh, well, they're going down anyway. They're going down to League One, the tractor boys, so perhaps he figures there's not a lot of difference.
Unfortunately for the tractor boys, because of course young Australian attacker Ben Falami is who turned a lot of heads at the Under-19 Championships. He's out for the season with an injury, but he's still on the books at Ipswich, or who knows, maybe if they go down to League One he could actually get some game time in the firsts. But there has been a number of interesting stories on display here at JL Murphy Reserve as Hume knocked the ball around again, maybe perhaps forlornly looking for a second goal. But Kao de Godoy, who has since come off, but is another interesting story. He was he was a graduate of the New South Wales Institute of Sport and was at one time on the books at both Sydney FC and Newcastle, but then in an attempt to kickstart his career made the move to Brazil, the Brazilian leagues, and well, unfortunately that doesn't appear to have worked out because he's now back here at Port Melbourne. But have you ever heard of Australian players trying to make a go of it in South America?
Yeah, there was, well, John Crawley, I think, who's the goalkeeping. Is he now with the Socceroos? He was Graham Arnold's goalkeeping coach at Central Coast. I think Crawley went and played in Latin America when he was younger, and there have been one or two who've gone over there, often players with Latin American antecedents. So it is unusual, though, but not completely unheard of.
Yes, perhaps a potential career move, maybe if any of our younger viewers watching speak Spanish or Portuguese, something to investigate.
But that is actually one of the great things about this game. I mean, you might not be good enough to crack it for really high level or big money top club level, but if you're a good player and you're fit and you can, sort of use football as a way to travel and see the world. I'm not suggesting backpacking and playing football. You have to be at a higher level than that and more committed than that. But you can, sort of use it as a way, getting around and earning a wage and seeing the world while you're in your 20s and getting paid for it. At a time when a lot of people are doing it on the cheap and working in bars and things like that. It just shows you the great scope there is with a global game.
Yeah, everybody's talking about engaging with Asia, sounding engaging with Asia alarm, but maybe a chance for young players maybe to look to move into Southeast Asia or something like that and forge a new career path in the Far East.
Well, yeah, I mean, Southeast Asia's really improving. I mean, there's some very good money. You go to Thailand, these clubs are not pushovers anymore. They pay good money, and their quotient is really growing. And in terms of getting places in the Asian Champions League and that. And it's not to be sniffed at. Vietnam's another place where the game is getting better and better as well at club level too. It just shows you how competitive it's becoming. We see this at the Asian Champions League level, don't we, for all the Australian clubs? But it's something Graham Arnold was talking a lot about with the Ollie Rouge yesterday. If you don't prepare, you don't practice, you don't get the chance, you can't turn up with second-grade teams anymore in Asia.
We saw recently Pierce Waring, the former Victory youth, made the move to Japan. Was aided somewhat by the fact that he has a Japanese passport, but just another move, a youngster making the move not to Europe but to Asia, and could become a trendsetter. As Hume, well, we have ticked over injury time, so there's not long left now for maybe Hume to get something, salvage some pride, salvage some goal difference, because it is a long season and you never know when that's going to come up, but you wouldn't bet on them getting something, would you?
A goal, you mean? Not really, no. Talking of Waring, he's not the first that's done that, though. Jason Davidson did it when he was young. His father, Alan Davidson, obviously with a Japanese background, and Jason went to Japan and went to school there and went into a football academy when he was a kid. Did well enough to play, I think started every game, didn't he, in the 2014 World Cup?
There you go, put in my place. It was Davidson, not Waring, that started the trend for these latest boys. As now Port Melbourne, well, really, the game has now settled into a rhythm, which you can probably tell by that we're talking about other things. Should now be a win for Port Melbourne. They can maybe, potentially with the win, get out of the relegation zone at least. With, of course, it will be very interesting to see promotion and relegation, not just from the NPL this year, but in NPL 2 with the restructure coming in for the competitions, with the shift from NPL 1, NPL 2 and the state leagues to the new structure of the 3 top leagues. No more East and West, which will make that battle in the NPL 2 to see which teams finish in the top 6. As the final whistle goes, a night to forget for Hume City, a night to savour for Port Melbourne. It was 2-0 at half-time, but they pump in another 4 goals in the second half. Hume get their 1, but in the end it's not enough. Port Melbourne 6, Hume City 1, and just, 5. Sorry, I can't even think at the moment. Hume's, and really just, Michael, a night to forget for Hume.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, what did we say at half-time? You asked me what I'd say if I was the Port Melbourne coach, and I'd just say, keep on keeping on. You're first to the ball, you're pressing, you're running hard, you're tackling fiercely, and you're winning all the loose balls. And that's exactly what they carried on doing, apart from, say, a 10-minute period where they probably lost concentration when they went 3-0 up. Hume got one back and threatened ever so slightly, but once that fourth went in, game was all over. Hume never really at the races today, and an excellent win for Port Melbourne.
Excellent win for Port Melbourne. We'll see if they can go on with it now and string some more results together. They're going to head inside and warm up. I'm going to do so as well. I think I've got pneumonia. My name is Joey Lynch. I've been joined by Michael Lynch, and make sure that you stay tuned on NPL Victoria's Facebook and YouTube channels throughout the weekend and throughout the season for more action from NPL Victoria.